Koti Vaishnavini ki jai. Namacharya Sri Haridas Thakur ki jai. Pran se kaham Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasari Se Gaura Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Sri Radha Krishna Gopal Gopinath Syamakunda Radha Kunda Giridharan ki jai. Vrindavan Mathura Dham ki jai. Samapanavadi Dham ki jai. Jalanpur Dham ki jai. Gangamaya Yamamaya ki jai. Samadhi Tulsi Bhakti Devi ki jai. Swami Devi Bhakti ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premi. Hari Hari Bol. Our glories to the Saman devotees, glory to Saman devotees, all glory to Saman devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Guru. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So welcome everyone to this evening's gathering. I was requested to continue the talk from yesterday on Lord Krishna's classical leadership model. So, Om Gyana Tamarasya, Gyana Tamarasya, Kaya Sakso, Gyana Gyana Tasma, Sri Gurvena, Suteta, No Vista, Star Vita, Gyana Bhutale, Sri Guru, Vedatisma, Vedantika. Vandeham Sri Guru, Sri Padakamalam, Sri Guru, Vaishnava, Sri Rupam, Sarvajatan, Samana, Sadvaita, Sarvaduta, Varijana, Sarvata, Krishna, Chaitanya, Sirada, Krishna, Kada, Saha, Kanalamata, Jirsa, Kam, Vita. Hey Krishna, Karunasindhu, Dinabandhu, Gopesha, Gopika, Radha, Tartakansan, Kurandi, Radhe, Vishnu, Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Desai Bhutale Bhakti Vedanta Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Charine Nirvisensa Samyavadi Pasachana Pandisi Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Sahodita Prabhadaya Krishna Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
So yesterday we were reading from Bhagavad Gita 3:21, if I'm not mistaken. That's all of the chapter is Kama Yoga. And this text 21, this was reading yesterday, has to do with leadership. And the world is maintained, governed, ruled by through leadership. And so sometimes people hear about the word leadership and they say, well, I'm not a leader. Luckily, I'm not a leader. But everybody, everybody is actually a leader. Either you're a potential leader or a leader in action. But if you have to be a parent, if If you plan on being a parent, you're a potential leader. If you are heading a team of devotees doing some service, you're a leader. And so, what is expected of the leader? And so, like I mentioned yesterday, there are basically two categories of leadership models or leadership theories. We have the classical leadership theories and the contemporary leadership theories. And sometimes people talk about leadership, and so we question what type of leadership you're talking about. What model or what theory of leadership you're talking about. Because leadership is so broad. So, and sometimes I question people, what type of leadership is ISKCON adopting or using? So, for us, it is important to understand that we have a society, we belong to a society, we belong to a spiritual, devotional organization that is governed by principles, governed by grand norms. And so it's expected, we are expected to lead by our example. In America we say, walk your talk. You say something, let your actions be as exact replica of what you say. Because according to Prabhupada, he mentioned in Prabhupada, now, we can tell someone to stop smoking when we have not stopped smoking. A lady had gone to see one of these Indian leaders. Prabhupada was telling the story. And then she went with her child. And then this minister, prime minister, whatever, he said, oh, come see me next week. He said, I came with my boy to see you. He's eating sweets too much. So I wanted to talk to him with a position so that he can stop eating sweets. When he hears you, the prime minister, say something, he will listen. He doesn't listen to me. So then this minister said, all right, we'll come see me this is the time, next week or something. So the lady came with his son, and all that the minister told this boy was, hey, stop eating sweets. Okay. So the mother queried that, what is this? This all that you have to tell him? You could have told him this the other time when I came here. Why you have to give me a date to come again? You could have told him this at that time I came with my child, not with my son. And the minister said that at that time, I myself have not stopped eating sweets. And so, if I tell him to stop eating sweets, it will be hypocritical on my part. And my words will not create any positive impact. And so I wanted to discipline myself first and relay that message to your son so that it could be impactful. So, this is the value of teaching by example. So Lord Krishna mentions in text 21 here of the third chapter, Yad Yad Acharya Sreshtas. Sreshtas means, here in this context, a respectable leader. And every one of us here is supposed to be a respectable leader because we are trying to preach the message of Lord Krishna. And so people come to our movement. So most people have read the books and read about how a devotee behaves, what their steps are, what they don't do, how they talk, how they walk. They read that, all of that. And so when they come to our temples, they come to our communities, they're expecting exactly to see that. They don't expect it less. They're expecting exactly that. If they see something else, it will be a turn off. And therefore, it is important that we understand people have read our books, read proper books, and expecting us to display those qualities of the devotee. And one of my young friends in Delhi told me a story. He was in an office, and some of the people in the office, they just kept poking him. They know he's a devotee, but then they just kept poking him. And then one day he couldn't control himself with one guy, so he flared out. He said that, the guy said that, you're a Krishna devotee, you're not supposed to act like this. You're supposed to be tolerant. It's so easy for someone to preach to you. But they don't want to practice that, but then they want to test you to see whether are you really a devotee. Yeah, this is the whole thing. And so, even in the offices, people, if you're working, for instance, in an office, people know you. They've read your books. Believe it or not, they read your books. And expecting you to behave in ways that are in alignment with your books, with your teachings. And therefore, Lord Krishna mentions here, they need to be value-based leaders. You need to be exemplary leaders. The respectable and exemplary leader does things and he expects their followers or their team members to do exactly that. Not do what I say, not what I do. No, it doesn't work like that. That's not the thesis that Lord Krishna is presenting in this very text. He's presenting the thesis of do what I do. And therefore, it is so important for us. So you mentioned Yat Yat Acharat Shrishta Tatta Edattarojana. Saya Pramanam Kurti Lokastar Anuvarti. Whatever action a great man performs, common men follow. And whatever standards he sets by exemplary acts, all the world pursues. All the world pursues. You see, this is a situation that happens that in the sense that, for instance, if in a constituency, members of the constituency, they vote a particular person into Congress. Now, that is their representative. And they want to copy the behavior, the way that guy talks, the way he acts. They want to copy exactly how he functions. It's just the general tendency. I mean, people in general, they are like children. Children who don't care. They imitate their parents. Whatever the parent does, when the parent is not there, they do exactly the same thing. They practice. It's like a rehearsal. And therefore, if the parents set a very good standard, the children, they just emulate that. And therefore, it is important for us to understand that people will come to our movement, or people watch us in the office, or watch us in our communities, and they see how we act, how we talk, how we behave, and they identify us with our teachings. Then Prabhupada becomes proud of us. We are ambassadors. And therefore ambassadors of the Gaudiya Vaishnava teachings, the teachings of Srila Prabhupada, the teachings of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the teachings of Lord Krishna. We are ambassadors of these teachings. And therefore that devotional energy that we carry anywhere we go, it matters a lot. Because we literally remind people about Krishna anywhere we go. Whether you put on tilak or you don't put on tilak, in the office, they know you as a devotee of Lord Krishna. Now if you are harsh with anybody, they will say, but you're a devotee now. By the time they will remind you that you're a devotee, you're supposed to be, tough to teach us, but they wouldn't want to practice that, but they're expecting you to practice that. Which is very natural because they are not identifying with it. And sometimes some people, they read our books and the requirements just turns them off. I remember one of my mentees organized a program in one of America's Ivy Leagues, and we went there for the program. There was this young lady, I think she was in a final year or so, and she read our books, and when we were to leave, that young lady, that student, was discussing with the devotee that organized the program. She's a female devotee. And then she said, I heard her say, yes, I like your teachings, but I cannot give up sex. We don't say give up sex. So the people like to pick up, something that they want to incriminate you, or you're saying like this, you're saying like that, The truth is bitter. And therefore, we have to be careful how and what we say in public, because it's so easy for people to judge us. For one thing, the teachings are of high standard. And so people in general, they can follow these teachings. And so they want to find fault with you, okay? Yeah, they want to find fault with you. See, even people who are born in India, yeah, I had an encounter. One of my disciples, she was telling me a story about how some friends in India, they told her, you're a young lady, so how come you can stay without a boyfriend? How is that possible? These are Indian girls. But tell an American girl, how is it possible you can stay like that? Tell me, how is it possible? So this is the legacy of the acharyas. A little practice of Krishna consciousness can save one from the most horrible situation you can think of. And therefore it is important for us to always remind ourselves that people are watching us. Those who are good-hearted, they admire what you are doing. Those who are feeling envious, they just want to find fault with you. Because they know you're doing something so high. You're practicing something so high. I mean, it's like someone saying, where are you going? Why don't you be on the same level of our sinful activities? Why are you in a hurry? People don't like people to be ethical. When you're ethical, then it's like you're calling them out. You're making a difference. And so that exemplary standard is very important. And we need to reflect on that. So that wherever we may be, we may not necessarily preach. The people identify you as someone who is not of this world. They see you as someone, no, she's not of this world. And the lifestyle is very daunting, very powerful. And therefore, you go to places like in America, just by being a vegetarian in some quarters, people respect you. Just being a vegetarian. Yeah. And then to speak of, I don't drink, I don't take alcohols, I don't do this, I don't do that. Because America basically is, the sinful energy is very, very intense, especially in New York. But we'll find devotees who are roaming the streets, distributing books, preaching on social media, preaching in colleges and universities. And so people get attracted. They take proper books, they read the books, they get attracted, and they want to study more. And therefore, our personal lives should be an epitome of character development. Because the exemplary leader, the epitome of the exemplary leader is character development. People lack character. They can say all type of hogwash, insincere nonsense. And they don't care about character. But they do have millions of followers because people in general on the planet are characterless. And so they see another person who is characterless advocating for some policy or telling lies all over the place. That's the person they have to align with. Because that is where the energy flows into. And the devotee who is endeavoring on the path of perfection, trying to maintain some sense of social sanity, people look at him or her like, are you on this planet? Or you're coming from another planet? And so it is important that we need to understand, we need to know, and we need to be conscious that everyone is a leader. Whether you're a parent, you're a teacher, you're a preacher, you're leaders. I remember when I just joined, after taking my first year, after taking my first initiation, and then when I was a young brahmachari, I was very, very tough. so Bhakti Swami, he wrote me a letter one time. He said, Abhasudev, you make sure all the leaders are following. So I thought, what is this? I'm just a new guy, and he's telling me this. What is this? So I was worried because I just came after 1 year, I got initiated, and he's telling me this. So I didn't know what to really to make of it. But the Guru identifies the potentials, and from day one, they're able to figure out how you should unleash your potentials maximally for sustainable devotional growth in helping the movement, in helping others. So, we have to see, we may not necessarily go about policing people, but we have to be our brothers and sisters keepers. Instead of waiting until your team members get into trouble, you should see proactively how you can help them to sustain their devotional energy at all times. Just like a very careful, loving mother is always watching the baby, watching the 1 year old, watching the 1 year 6 months old, watching the 2 years old. Because at that time, the child is in most cases restless and they could creep even into fun. So the mother is always very careful, watching, at every moment, watching where the child is, what they are doing. But the watching is not to find fault with the child. Out of love, they want to see the child is protected, the child is secure. So we should also be like a loving mother who is out there to see that the devotees around us are secure and protected. We are bound to be able to give the emotional support, the spiritual support, the devotional support, to be able to enable our team members grow devotionally. And when we do this, Krishna reciprocates in amazing ways. So when any member of your team even attains perfection, you get 1/6 of the benefits. Yeah. So, if you have 6 members of your team who attain perfection, you don't need to work too hard, you know. Yeah, this is the beauty of devotional culture. And in the Chaitanya Bhagavad, there is this discussion between Pundarik Vijayanidhi and Garuda Pandit. And Pundarik Vijayanidhi was explaining how devotional service is so powerful that one is able to sustain, if one is able to sustain their devotion and attain perfection, they have so many generations in their family benefited from. Specifically, it's mentioned in the Chaitanya Bhagavad that for the Paramahamsa, for the Uttama Adhikari, 21 generations before him or before her, and after her or him, are liberated from the family. So tell me, what type of job, if you become the president or the prime minister of Suriname, how many generations in the family are going to be liberated? Yeah, this is the power of devotional service. Just by being an exemplary devotional leader, you can help people in amazing ways. Why? Because what we do inspires and motivates people. If we're doing the positive things, we are very desperately reading every day, we're chanting our rounds at the appropriate time, we're saying, we're speaking only Krishna Katha, not any type of Graham Katha. That inspires people. It inspires other devotees. And the more we inspire people with our own values, with our own modus operandi and modus vivendi, the more we'll find people clinch onto the devotional process. Because they see somebody who is a role model to them. So forget about, don't look at what someone is not doing. We should do something. We have to become the role model devotional leaders. Because it's so easy to find fault around. In fact, in academia, we are trained specifically to find fault. I remember I went to one conference one time when I was younger, one academic conference, and one of the guys, young professor, he was one of the persons who organized the conference, and so this doctor, he came to us, the younger scholars, and he came, hey guys, come here, just go to that hall. Professor such is making his presentation there. Go, this is exactly what he said. Go and find fault in his presentation. He thinks he knows too much. Because the young scholars, they are so versed in research, so they can find fault maybe with the older professors. So that was the socialist way he came to us. But that is completely opposite of a devotional leader. Completely opposite. A typical example of a devotional leader who says a very good example, this by good example is Haridas Pandit. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Haridas Pandit is spoken about, and Haridas Pandit is an example of someone, a devotee, who only looks for the good qualities in the devotees around him. He's blinded completely to any bad qualities. He looks for the good qualities of the devotees. So this is the example we have to be able to follow. A good leader. Even as a parent, if you look at the bad sides of your kids, you just be in anxiety all the time. Because no one is perfect. No child is perfect. And therefore it is important for us to align with the principle of setting the ball rolling for others to be part of the game. Being role models. In people who are ruling the world today, in most cases, because they are not ethical, in most cases people are not ethical, they fail the test, they fail the litmus test of being a role model, an ethical role model. Yes, there are people who are role models, but basically they have a phenomenological mindset. Phenomenological mindset is what Krishna describes in the Gita as a demoniac mindset. We don't use that word demoniac in academia. So again, it means the same thing, but then the words are polished in such a way that it seems very attractive, but it is the same thing we're describing. I am Bogi, Siddhamana, Balavansuki. I am the enjoyer. I'm perfect. I'm very strong. These are my enemies, I'll kill them. My other enemies will also be killed. This is phenomenological mindset. And therefore, a devotee does not really care about enemies. He cares about friends. And Krishna himself, he had so many friends, so many sagas. And sometimes even his own friends. This is what constitutes ethical leadership. An ethical and a value-based leader is ready to listen. And Krishna was a typical example of that. Sometimes Subha would chastise him. Subha would chastise Krishna. These gopis, they are devotees. Why are you acting like that to them? Rupa Goswami, listen to this. What's the name of this lady, this celebrity, this Indian lady, this British singer? Mirabai, yeah. Mirabai, okay. Mirabai went to Vrindavan when the 6 Goswamis were there in Vrindavan, Rupa Goswami is the epitome of devotional leadership. Rupa Goswami was the leader of the 6 Goswamis. Speaking. So, Mirabai, she went to Vrindavan and wanted to have darshan of Rupa Goswami. So he sent a message to Rupa Goswami. Maharaji, can I have a darshan? Guess what Rupa Goswami, what his reply was? Anybody heard that story? Okay. So, Rupa Goswami says, Swami, no darshan for women. Rupa says, no darshan for females. So, Mira, she didn't get upset. She brings in philosophy. She said, good for you. Okay. I thought that Krishna is the only Purusa and we are all Prakriti. So you become Purusa now? You have become the Purusa now. I thought we are all Prakriti. So, imagine, say, you're the GBC of this place, you say something, and a lady devotee comes to correct you. I think that if most people will say, what? You have the guts to tell me this? I am the GBC here, you don't know? But look at, hear the response of Rupa Goswami. This is an exemplary. This is a typical epitome, example of what Krishna stipulates in this text 21. Rupa says, yes, you are right. Come have your darshan. Yeah. So, we should be open. Unethical, value-based leaders, they are open to criticisms. They are open. They listen. They don't talk. They're good listeners. And they act on what they hear that will be useful for improving the relationships in the community, improving interpersonal relationships in the community. It's not that, you know that none of us is omniscient. We don't know everything. Maybe you are omniscient, I am not. So I remember, I was in Washington, D.C. one time, and then, one Guru Guli, he said, Maharaj, there's a conference going on. Go and participate, go and make a presentation. I said, whatever conference. So he went, he checked on his phone, and then he said, physics conference. I said, look, my PhD is not in physics, my PhD is in management science and leadership. He said, but you're a doctor, so you can always go. I say, we don't operate like that in academia. Just because you have a PhD in one field, it doesn't mean that you're the jack of all trades. It doesn't make you to become a mathematician. It doesn't make you to become a neurologist or a neuroscientist or a gynecologist. No. And so, Rupa Goswami epitomizes the humility with purpose. That we need to give peace a chance. We need to be good listeners. We need to hear the suggestions of people and view it from the scriptural perspective, how we can incorporate those good suggestions in our lives. And we can grow exponentially by being good listeners. Rupa Goswami was the best of listeners. That he learned, even he wanted to learn it from somebody like Mirabai. Celebrity. He didn't discriminate. Oh, come on. What do you know? You're a woman. What do you know? So, Rupa Goswami is completely opposite of what I saw in California. One time I was in California. So I went to Laguna Beach, and then Laguna Beach, they don't have provisions for accommodation for seances. So they entrusted me into the care of one family. They are husband and wife. They are they're grandparents. Their children have grown up, married, and moved out of the house on their own. So then we are going to a program, and the wife, see the difference between Rupa Goswami, the good listener, and this very man I'm talking about. This is my host. So he was driving a car, we were going for a program, and the wife had the directions. So she was reading the directions to him, but this guy, they're grandparents. That means they lived together for decades. And he was still being abusive. So the wife was reading the directions to him, and this person completely ignored the wife. Completely. Zero. He completely ignored that to the barest minimum. And the wife was very upset. So she said, "Hey, Prabhu, okay, I may not be right. Can you call the host and get directions from him so that he can use that direction together so that we don't get late for Maharaj's program?" He called, I was there, this is not Puranic story. I was there. He called the host, and the host sent to him exactly what the wife had, the directions the wife had. Exactly the same thing. And he used that to drive to the place. So we got there and we got to the gate, so we stopped. He alighted to go press the bell. So I came out from the car, the wife also highlighted. And as the husband was going to the other point to press the bell, the wife turned to me and said, and I saw how her countenance, she was filming. She was very upset. And she turned to me and said, "So, in this world, if you're a woman, whatever you say is wrong." So I responded to her that, "Mataji, see, I don't know you people before. It's my first time of encountering you. I don't know your husband. I don't know you. My first time of coming to your house. But I can say one thing. What your husband did is completely wrong. Is emotional abuse." Immediately, her countenance changed. I guess she was thinking, not all men are like this man. So when you ignore somebody, that is an emotional abuse. There are several ways to abuse somebody. When you ignore your spouse, you ignore your parents, you ignore your child. When they say something and you behave as if you don't hear, that is ignoring that is a type of abuse. It's called emotional abuse. So I saw that. These are supposedly devotees. And so we need to learn from, I always emphasize that, even the pastimes of Krishna, pastimes of the Acharyas, we should always try to figure out what to take home with. What are the implications for my spiritual life? What are the implications for my social life? What are the implications of this leader for my family development? Because yes, we read the books, we hear the leaders, they're very purifying, but they also have implications. There are things we can always learn. So here Rupa Goswami exemplifies the perfection of exemplary leadership. The woman opposed him and he yielded. You're right. He didn't say, look, I'm an acharya. What do you know? Do you want to correct me? And that's exactly what most of us do, the men. Just because I'm a man, so I know everything. Is that what is said in the Sanskrit? And so, we know Krishna. And therefore, if we want to have a cohesive community, cohesive families, I mean families, because the family is a microcosm of the community. And community comes from two words. Commune, which means empathic communication, and unity. Unity means to work together, to come together. So when we have to develop a community, these two principles have to be in place. Communication, empathic communication. Empathic communication means I put myself in your shoes. Whatever I say, I should think, if this person says this to me, will it be suited to my purpose? Will I accept it? Will it sink down into my consciousness favorably? So if we evaluate what we say like that, we are more careful about what we say to people. Because what is good for the goose is good for the gander. And so, people talk about, in management and leadership, they talk about these classical leadership theories and contemporary leadership models or contemporary leadership theories. But before they even developed their so-called classical leadership theories from the experiments, Krishna had already developed the first classical leadership model. Exemplary leadership. Ethical, value-based, exemplary leadership. Oh yeah. And so we have to understand, being ethical is so important in our life. Being exemplary is so important in our lives. We can't tell our child, Prabhupada mentioned in the pamphlet, we can't tell a child or somebody not to smoke if we are smoking. We will not have that zeal, that emotional courage to even tell somebody, don't smoke, if we are smokers. No, we will not have the zeal. That is why the minister told the lady, come at such a time. He wants to rectify himself before he insults the child. Because our behavior weighs much on what we say and the impact of what we say on people. Our values matters a lot. That is why Lord Krishna mentions in this text that whatever a great personality does, the people in his constituency will follow, or the common people will follow, and whatever standards he says or she says, the whole world will see that as a grand norm. what they are going to be able to innovate. Yes, any comments or questions? It's a simple talk. I suppose that's...
I want to ask you, because I don't understand the English so properly.
Okay.
Yes. I want to ask you what I understand. Maybe I understand wrong. Maybe you can tell me back what I understand wrong. You show Mira Bhai, the Mira Bhai. Is the yug what is speaking about of the reality what Mira Bhai and
Rupa Goswami.
Yeah, Rupa Goswami.
Yeah, this is something that happened in Vrindavan. Not a myth. This is real life event.
Okay. No, because I don't understand every single thing. Because I speak more Hindi and...
Understand.
Yes, that's why maybe you think I looking so serious. Why? Because I want to listen properly about the Bhagavad Gita. Because I read the Bhagavad Gita, I want to know, because there is Swami, I am a little Pandit, and I want to know what about the Bhagavad Gita. Because the more you learn, the more higher you go.
Sure. The Bhagavad Gita, this principle of how to lead, Krishna has given us this principle thousands of years ago. And if we implement this even in our own families, our families will be sweet homes. Sweet homes. Because we are good exemplars. We don't tell our child to do one thing and we do something else. We say one thing and we do something else. The child is watching us. I don't know whether for yesterday I was mentioning that story about this 10-year-old boy in New York. So I was with this boy. During the Ratha Yatra, we were going to the site. And he said he wanted to ask a question. I said, all right, feel free. He doesn't chant. His parents wanted me to encourage him to chant. But then he asked a question like, Maharaj, can someone be chanting and at the same time watch television? So I said, that is offensive chanting. He said, but my parents do this all the time. So, we have to understand that the children are like these outside people who are not devotees, and they're always looking for fault in us. The children are also like that. They may not say anything because if they say something to you, you may harass them and bully them or whatever, or smack them. So they may not say anything. But if they see their friend, someone there, or they is so confident that treats them like, like a friend, not like an authority. If I treat him like an authority, he won't ask me those questions. But I treat him like a friend. Okay, that's how I deal with my friends. So, then he opened up the text to tell me those type of stuff. And I told him, come on, see, you are not chanting. Now you want to find fault with your parents? You chant first. If you are chanting, then you can find fault with the parents. For now, just shut up, you're not chanting. Yeah, so the children, they're like that. They watch us and they don't want to do something, but then they look for something to use as an excuse. So, wherever we may be, people watching us. So, thank you for your question. So, Mirabai's this story is a life story that happened in Vrindavan over 500 years ago. This is Goswami's story. It just shows how the advanced devotee is very meek and humble. They are ready to take corrections, even from anybody. And we are not very advanced. We don't want to listen. We don't want to take any correction. We always think,
I know more better.
I know it all. I know everything. What can you tell me? You're just a woman. What can you tell me? As if the women are inferior. But look at it. Look at it. the whole of this universe, the most sensitive positions in this universe. I'm not talking about Suriname. I'm talking about the universe. Suriname is just a small country, like a speck in the universe. But the whole of this universe is ruled by women. Even our planet, Earth, Bhumi Loka, is ruled by a woman, by Mother Bhumi. And yet, we don't seem to realize this, or we seem to forget this. And then waiting, we are the best. Just because I'm a man, I think I'm the best. Who said? This planet is ruled by a woman. Are you aware of that?
Yes.
And the person who is in charge of the prison of this material world is a woman or a daughter. The person who mans education. Education is just an important department. The universal manager for education is a woman or a sort. All the most sensitive positions, and even in the spiritual world, is managed by a woman. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So you see, we have a lot of false ego. We men, we have a lot of false pride. Unfortunately. So yes, Mirabai's story with Rupa Goswami, it happened on this planet. In fact, Mirabai's what do you call it? Samadhis in the area where in this Samadhi area. I saw that Samadhi when I went to that. Any other comments or questions? Yes, please.
I wanted to ask, Maharaj mentioned that we should always see good in devotees and everybody. But still you see that almost 90% of people, they still find every small thing in one person, or however you try to do the best, there is always something that they will find to tell you you're wrong or something.
See, it is always good for people to tell you something wrong in your life than to tell you good things. When they tell you good things, you may feel complacent. You may feel, oh, I'm all right, I'm fine. But we should embrace people who come to tell us about our shortcomings. It's difficult, but we should practice to embrace bad, to hear bad comments or counterproductive comments about our values, so that we find ways to improve. Genuine devotee is thinking that everyone else is more advanced, better than them. And so if we have a chance that someone comes to tell us, find faults with us, we should take it as Christian blessing so that we can accelerate, we can improve. We should not be upset. That is how we should look at people who fault find us, who find faults in us. If somebody, except you are dead, people will always find fault with you. Even Lord Chaitanya, they find fault with him. Even Lord Krishna, they find fault with him. So don't worry. It is a general problem. In research, when something is a general problem, we don't give so much attention to it. But if there's a specific problem, then we quickly want to deal with that. Or to propose some solutions. Yeah. Any other comment?
Yes. So when people are making bad remarks about us, we should just shake it off, or also listen and say, oh, maybe they're right.
Yeah, we should think. You're right. That's what Rupa Goswami did. That's exactly what Rupa Goswami did. When Mirabai said, I thought that we are all Prakriti. You have become now a Purusa. Imagine telling an Acharya, I thought we are all Prakriti. We are all meant to be enjoyed by Krishna. So you are now enjoyer, Purusa means enjoyer. In other words, Mirabai was telling Rupa, look, we are all females. Krishna is the only male. What are you talking about? And Rupa said, yes, you're right. So yes, Rupa Goswami did not just ward off the comment. He said, yes, you're right. Let me rectify myself. Okay, please, come for darshan. That's how he rectified himself. So when people criticize us, we should look inward. Whether they're right or wrong, we should take that as a point of duty to be able to facilitate further growth. That's exactly what Rupa Goswami did. Any last question?
Yeah, say you are leading a group and a fight happens and the group splits in two parties. And party one says, they did this, it's wrong, and the other party says, they did this, they are wrong. And both are kind of right. Both are right, but none of them want to change. So how do you solve this problem?
Now, there's a way to resolve these problems by someone taking a humble position. You see, whenever there is a conflict, we should take a humble position and tell the other party, I am the cause of the problem. I'm so sorry about all of these problems. Please tell me the best way I can behave so that we can sustain our relations. People don't expect that. They never expect that. They expect a fight, back and forth. And here you are, you say, oh, please, I'm so sorry about this problem. I am the cause of this problem. Please forgive me. Now, just let me know how I can behave properly that will suit your problem so that we can go on in the relationship. Ordinary people don't act like that. So don't be an ordinary person. Show people you are different. I remember I have a friend in Delhi. She is a software engineer. And she was trying to cultivate the father. Father and mother, they have male values, male values. And then the father was submissive, mother was, So the father started turning up to 8 rounds. So one day we were talking on the phone. So I asked her that, what about your dad? How is he doing? She said, oh, I stopped talking with that man for some time now. I said, what happened? Then she told me the story how she collected a gallon. Pujari gave her a gallon from the temple one day. So she went back to the house. She lives with the parents. At that time she was not married. So she lived with the parents. She was living with the parents at the time. So she brought the gallon home, put it in her room. But then one weekend the father was cleaning the whole house. So he went into her room to also to clean. And he saw the gallon, he thought it's some dirt, and then throw it away. And then this girl was completely mad. Completely mad that he stopped talking to the father. So I said, listen, see your father, you're trying to cultivate him, and you said he's already chanting 16 rounds. Look at your mom. Your mom refused to subscribe to anything. So this person, why don't you become compassionate on him? I said, see, you have overreacted. Go and beg your father that he should forgive you that you overreacted. She was completely taken aback. And she told me, Maharaj, this is very difficult. But because of you, I will do it. So she went, begged the father, and the father was just too surprised. From that day, he said that is 16 rounds. Because he said, what? This is my daughter? She knows the girl. For her to come to beg when he knew that he was at fault. No, he thought, oh, this movement, I can also become a good person. Yeah. So, it is difficult to transcend our ego. The false ego is the biggest challenge of the devotee. The biggest challenge is our false ego. And we have to practice. We need to do some little exercise like this. And you have some conflict with somebody, misunderstanding with somebody, take a humble position. Show that person that, hey, I'm more advanced than you.
But if it's not true?
It might not true in what sense?
We can take a humble position artificially, but you know it's not supposed to be done because he's wrong.
It's wrong, okay, but then, see, that is where you have to kill the false ego in you. That, yes, you know it's wrong, but then you assume a humble position. You take a humble position to take the negative impact. I am the one at fault. I'm sorry. Can you imagine somebody? I tell you, listen. See, when I was still in Africa, our temple president, we were building a temple in the capital city, and we had some guest rooms in that very building. So people used to come from overseas. It was a strategic port. So people used to come, and then they'd come to lodge in the temple. But then one day, one senior devotee, my senior, he came to me to make some allegations that I and the other devotee who is helping with the construction work, with the temple management, that the two of us are aiding and abetting drugs. That's what he said. And drugs, in that country at the time, that was the beginning of all this drug pushing stuff. And so the penalty when you're found guilty of drug involvement is like a lifetime jail or public execution. And the devotee came to make that type of allegation. He has no dime, not iota of any evidence. But sometimes I act like a mad person. So, I frankly speaking, I don't need to tolerate anything when it comes to criminal matters. If somebody breaks the 4 regulatory principles, I can call at least ISKCON and then we'll discuss with the devotees and see how best to help the person. But when it comes to crime, no, I don't call ISKCON, I call the police. Yeah. So I could have put that guy in the jail, but some of the other, after my other bad side came in and, I just told him, so, drugs, that's the only thing you know about Basudev? I do worse things than drugs. I even kill people, you don't know? He was completely motionless. He stood where he stood for over 4 minutes. And then he left. That was the end of it. He didn't come back. So after some months have passed, I asked the other devotee that he was making allegation together with me. I asked him whether that guy, he's our senior. He was senior. I asked that devotee, did such a person come to make allegations to you? Because this is what he told me. And this what he told me. Did he come to you? That devotee said, no, he didn't come to me. And he became very furious. He said, and what did you say? He told you this. What did you say? So I told him what my response was. And he said, Vasudev, you're crazy. How can someone come to make all these dirty allegations to you. And that was your response. But you know what? That fellow who made those allegations, till today, we're very good friends. Even when I left the country, I became a U.S. resident when I got invited by some professors to come for conferences, and then I ended up staying in the U.S. Whenever he had some problems with temple management and all this, and he would call me to seek advice. So yeah, we might not come from our hearts, it might not come from our real nature, but we have to practice to be humble. Practice makes perfect. Sometimes it's so difficult to practice. I remember a case of someone who came to meet me in Delhi. He's from one of these temples, one of these cities in India. So he saw me in Delhi, he became so much enamored, and he said he was in love with Bhaktisiddhanta Swami, and all of a sudden Bhaktisiddhanta Swami left the planet. So he met me and said, can you be my sister Guru? I love your Guru so much. I said, well, no problem. But then before he left back to his city, he came to me. He's a young man with a family, 3 kids and a young wife. So he came to me to seek for advice. He said he wanted to get some advice on how to make his family more loving-oriented. I said, oh, I have the strategy I can share with you. He said, tell me. I said, when you get back home, when you're happy, your wife is also happy, sit your wife down and ask her, Manaji, what is it that you find in me that I'm doing in this family that you don't feel comfortable, that you think I should adjust myself to make the family a better, loving, oriented family? I said, tell your wife this. When she's happy, you're happy. And he looked at me right in the face, talking about how to practice to be humble. Some people, they don't even want to practice. So he looked at me right in the face and he said, Maharaj, if I ask my wife this, she will bring a whole long list. I said, see, you came to see a doctor for diagnosis and medication, and you got the diagnosis and the medication, and you're not able to take the medication. Yeah, so practice, we should try to practice to be humble. Yeah, so it is not so easy to accept a humble position and say, yeah, the problem, the commotion, and the cause of it, I'm so sorry, please tell me what I can do so that I can adjust myself and become a better person in our relations. It might be difficult. But do you love this person? Do you want to stay in a relationship with this person? Make some sacrifice. Do something. To assume a humble position, it's not too big. See, I went to the first temple I was staying in the US, there was a boy who was, the Guru, he was like, people didn't like him because of, he doesn't control his tongue. I heard that one lady even slapped him in the public. So when I went to that temple, some devotee, older devotee who was there, he educated me, he gave me a class on that boy. He came to my room and gave me a class on that boy, how I should never have anything to do with it and all this and blah, blah, blah. But I thought to myself, I'm going to stay in this temple with this guy, and you're saying that he's so bad, I should not talk to him, I should not do this. How is that going to be possible? I'm an adjustable person. So I said, I will adjust myself to suit his purpose. We became friends. So, adjustment, psychology of adjustment is good.
No, we have to be truthful.
Yeah, truthful, that is it. But you have to be psychologically adjusted. If you are not psychologically adjusted, you can't really make it through in this life. Most of the problems that are on the planet are due to psychological maladjustment. And a number of our devotees also are psychologically maladjusted. They want everyone else adjust themselves to suit their purpose. They are not ready to adjust themselves to suit anybody's purpose. It just takes simple practice of adjustment, adaptability. It's called practice. Srila Prabhupada, please just thank you again for coming.